What's the difference between a conservative finance leader or someone who sort of is happy to try new things, get the team innovated?
Hit a touchy subject there, right? If you come from an audit background, your whole viewpoint in life is like, hey, let's minimize risk. Let's not try to explore stuff, because what you want to do is control environments, have a stable audit, have everything stable around you, right? I think when you come to these individuals or leaders who want to explore, balance is key for me. Like what I learned the hard way is I like to explore and I like to give the team the freedom to try things, but not at the cost of doing what needs to be done, especially around like, let's say month end, right? So if it's a critical period in my life, this is not the right time for you to think about how many wonderful stars I can pluck from the sky.
You're talking about.
That's a good point. I know I've done it. All right. So welcome to the Countdowns, everyone. We are the pod for finance leaders, the strategizers, the thinkers, and the doers. So for today, we have just Ash and myself today. Kev, I don't know what happened to him, but he's not here today for us with this episode, but that's all right. We'll continue without him today. So welcome, Ash.
Thank you, mate. All is well?
All right. So in today's episode, we're going to focus on a sort of an interview question you might hear. And so, when you go to interview, someone asks the question, what sort of management style do you prefer? And, there's so many different types of management styles, pros and cons to each type. So I guess what we're going to discuss today is maybe we'll go through a few key management styles and we'll discuss them, and you can sort of see whether that suits what you prefer to work under, or also what sort of style you want to be, what sort of leader you want to be as well. So we'll go through a few of those options and let's see what we come up to. Because I guess one of the things, and as you probably know, this is like one of, when you hear people quitting work, it's not usually the job they quit, it's the manager they quit. So, that comes down to what sort of style they're, pushing onto the employees or their team. So, yeah. So with the whole, I guess, whole point of this episode, let's work out what sort of styles are out there and what should suit you better and what you prefer to work under as well. All right. So let's kick it off.
Excited for this. Huge topic.
Okay. So I guess one of the main leadership styles is very generational. Now, you got the older sort of managers out there who got one style of managing, and this is very generalized in opinion here. And then the modern leaders who are sort of a bit more, relaxed with certain things. They're not as strict, not as in your face. So let's discuss what that is. So with the more traditional old school leadership style, so that's more, what would you say, it was more authoritative?
Yeah, hierarchical is probably the right word that comes through as well. So a lot of corporate hierarchy that goes up the chain. So that's something.
Yeah. And I guess there's pros and cons to that as well. Like, there's, part of me prefers that as well. Like, someone who sort of takes their leadership in the, and just takes care of his team, takes care of the task, takes responsibility. But at the same time, I think you see the new generations as well. It doesn't work too well when someone they want to be part of the plan, part of the thought process, and which is nothing wrong with that as well. But sort of there's a bit of a clash in the generations there as well. So I guess, yeah, and I think one thing I want to talk about, and it's interesting. I don't know if you guys watched the Drive to Survive, the latest season. I think you see that clearly there, where you have Flavio Briatore, who's a sort of old school, sort of legend in the F1 world. His style is very aggressive, very I'm the boss, you listen to what I say. And then you got someone who the newer managers, the newer team principals like Jonathan Wheatley, who sort of like cuddles his team, makes sure everyone's good, everyone's happy. Like, he's still very strict, very on top of what is happening, but it's a very different style, very calm, very, look, let's work towards a goal together. Instead of Flavio's like, it's my way or get out of here sort of thing, So I guess, okay, Ash, one question to you is, what sort of style do you prefer when it comes to this type of style?
It depends on the organization, to be fair, right? So if you got let's say a high performing organization and everything's working as it should, you can absolutely go down the hard path, right? Just go like, I'm the boss, do as I say, because we've got a formula that works. If you get a company that you're trying to explore options, trying to grow revenue, trying to cut back cost, you might need to take the approach of let's become more collaborative. Let's try to take people's opinions on and let's try to get everyone on the same page, because you haven't got everything sorted out. right? So, and I think so it does come down to the context of the organization. So it's a really critical point, and it's a point in time where that leadership style is relevant for that area.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think that's what I've seen in my workplace as well, where we just sort of started a brand new business. Yeah, you couldn't have that authority like this my way sort of style. Like you had to be, all right, let's all work together. This is the goal. How do we get there? And we had to work together to get there. So you're right. I guess yeah, that makes sense as well. Like depending on your business as well, different leadership styles work better, right? So, and I guess one thing, and I think this is more on your side of the topic, Ash. Like the way the world's evolved with technology. Do you think that's changed leadership style as well?
Yeah, absolutely, right? Like we're more connected than ever now, right?
Mm.
Previously was like we get to the office and you lead for X amount of hours. You're there 5 days a week, and then you come home, right? You'd have a mobile phone on you, but literally that was it. Now we've got, Teams pinging, you got emails on your phone, you've got messages all the time, you're expected to be online all the time. Your team might not be located in the same city, let alone country, and you've got all sorts of different elements, which, a generation ago didn't exist that much. We just changed everything, right? So we do have to be different.
So I guess one thing we've sort of experienced both sides of that, haven't we? Like when I guess when we first started working, I'm a bit before you, but like we sort of just hit in that digital sort of world. So the whole coming to office, I think when I started working, I think we just started getting laptops. So there's a whole different world that we're going to come into. So I guess we sort of saw the old style, and I guess how it's evolved now. Where you're right, like I can be at home, I can do the exact same thing, and it's really no different to me being in work or in the office, sort of thing. Like it'd be a home office, but I guess there's a I guess a way of dealing with that, right? You have to be the right leader to manage that difference, the change now as well, right? Like
Yeah, correct.
it's not, yeah, because this is someone working from home is requires a different style of leadership, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what you gather from that is you'll see the traditional sort of leaders come through and it's like, they prefer face to face, and that warrants a, right time, right place situation as well, to go have a coffee and you can have some water cooler conversations as such. And you don't get that necessarily via, a digital chat as such, right? So you do miss out some of those soft skills and some of that just presence in the office as well. So how do you build that reputation? How do you build that just walking past and stumbling and hearing something like somebody's problem in a kitchen, and how do you solve for that? Those sometimes were the ins that people got to get ahead in life. And I feel like now, because we are converting to that sort of, let's say, work from home style, we're not fully getting that all the time. So our exposure is also being limited.
Well, I guess then I guess the other thing as well is, so one of the leadership styles was like, do you prefer to work in an authoritative style leadership or collaborative style leadership?
Oh, mine's definitely collaborative. Look, I'm a guy of multiple perspectives, right? So starting career up in sort of audit, working my way up through the commercial ranks, everything is about risk and exposure, right? So for me, I'm like, how do I, as a finance leader myself, I understand that I don't know everything, but I'd like to surround myself with people that have alternating opinions in me. So then I can go, have I got this covered appropriately or not? Because if it's just my way or the highway, I can easily miss a perspective of like, hey, there's a huge fundamental flaw if we take this just via my route. And I would never want to risk anything like that. So for me, I'm like, all right, let's get a few different people in the room. I don't need everyone to agree with me, but hey, have we covered all our bases? And if we have, good. But if we haven't, let's take our time and dig a bit further.
And you're right. I think that's what makes, and I think, for my opinion, that's what makes a good finance leader, or actually a leader in general. Someone who's willing to accept that they don't know everything, and to fill the room with people they know can make them better as well. And sometimes that it will be someone who's going to push you to, disagree with you, say no to what you're saying, and then that's fine. And I remember I use the example here where it would have been good if Kev was here, but in the cricket world where I used to captain the team, I wasn't the best, smartest cricket guy in the team as well, but I made sure I had the right people, sort of taking care of the little sections, and that's what made the team better. So you're right. So I think the collaborative style is, in my opinion, better. But look, but at the same time, you need a leader who, at some points, has to be authoritative, right?
Yeah,
like someone has to make something. You have to make the call, get on with it, and sometimes so you have to be a mix of both. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's sort of my thoughts on that as well.
And I think that your danger of this is like when you have a semi-authoritative leader, right? Or someone who has the hierarchy, it's this middle manager sort of syndrome, right? Like where you sort of have power, but you don't really have power. And so you're trying to guide your
Right.
team, but at the end of the day, you can't actually make any shots. And then anything that does get raised, you then end up trying to fumble your way up the chain with
Mm.
that. How does that create sort of accountability and strength and everything else just because you're slightly higher than somebody else? So I think that dynamic also does need to change because at the end of the day, we just become slightly more advanced than the juniors, right? Like, yeah.
And I guess that's when you see when it comes to retrenches, first people to go middle management, right?
Yeah,
It's just, I think it's exactly for that reason as well. Like, do you want someone just in between the person, in between the top and the workers? So yeah, exactly. I agree with that point as well. So now, I guess another sort of style is the data-driven leadership style. Now, these are the sort of leaders who like got the KPIs, they got the board said this is what we need to achieve this year. Let's go for it. And it's like, can that be sort of narrow-sighted, where it's sort of like you're not really innovating, you just sort of just focus on just that one goal? And is that something that you reckon? What are the pros and cons? Do you reckon that's something that's going to cause issues in the business if you had that sort of style?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Look, I think the reality is, once again, it depends on the organization, where they're up to, what their structure is as well, right? If you've got investors, as an example, as you know, like you just come back and they're wanting a return on their money and they say, hey, you achieve this number. If not, we're going to put a lot of pressure on you and become really annoying. And so what happens with management? We just go, we need to hit this number, right? And at that point in time, it doesn't matter how good you want to coach somebody or lead them or, create a real wonderful career. If you don't hit that, no one's going to have a job in the future, right? So at the end of the day, you become very driven on how do we hit a target. So it depends on organization to organization. I think how they approach it, if it is data driven, let's say it's we have to hit a return on capital employed number, and we want to also hit a good bank balance at the end of the year and a good profit target. Yeah, you can do all that thing, but let's also not forget about, hey, there's people involved here, and are there smarter ways of just doing this rather than just trying to shove random numbers down people's throats?
And you brought a good point. You sort of was going to lead into the next part. Is like the coaching style leadership as well. Like, should a leader of a team, is it a key part of the leadership focusing coaching, developing the team underneath him or her, and then sort of make sure they sort of become better people, and in the end, be not scared that they might replace you, sort of thing. Is that a sign of a good leader? Or
for me, absolutely. So I'd like to take that I've really delved in that part quite a bit. So I sort of train, in multiple workplaces, train the people underneath me to take over my roles, if not move on, or if not open up other opportunities outside. So for me, I'm not intimidated by the young, older people coming through the ranks, and for me to sort of polish people and let them loose as such. And the reason for me is a personal incentive is I've got now connections to incredibly intelligent people that have either gone upwards on the company or have gone, to different companies. And I've got now these contacts that I can sort of leverage at any one point in time. And I'm incredibly proud of that. But I have seen, like leadership structures where it's, if you were to ever try to outshine your boss, that's very negative. And, looked around and, everything comes down on you very hard and fast, right? So, yeah, for me, I prefer the development style. I think you get the best out of people if you understand, similar to a car, right? You can't put E98, E10 petrol in a diesel car, right? You gotta put, 98 in a 98 car. You could put, you can't put, ethanol in a 98 car, right? So you got to put the right fuel. And once you get the right fuel into the car and it's tuned, you can run it beautifully. Everything hums, right? So it's about, just getting that right mix.
And you're right, because I think one thing, and you brought up a point there as well, one thing I don't like is someone who takes credit for your work when, when they didn't have a major part to do it. They're like, I know I always make sure that when my team, if, I presented work to the leadership, I acknowledge that, it was the team who did it. It wasn't me, so I sort of make sure I mention that, they did the work. I'm just here presenting it, then just sort of, to me, it's sort of like that gives the team confidence that, that they're not being overlooked. They're sort of they know that they're valued. And I think that's sort of when I see people who just take credit for work and they don't really have much to do with it, that really annoys me, I guess. So if someone asks me, what's the leadership you like, I would say definitely want someone who sort of acknowledges the work of his team as well.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah,
For sure.
that's just one of my things as well.
Yeah, nice.
So I guess the other thing as well is you got risk adverse versus growth oriented style. Now, like I said, I think it's the same thing where it comes down to the business you're in. But I guess what's the difference between a conservative finance leader or someone who sort of is happy to try new things, get the team motivated, innovated, innovation stuff,
Oh, yeah, you hit a touchy subject there, right? So I think if you come from an audit background, your whole viewpoint in life is like, hey, let's minimize risk. Let's not try to explore stuff, because what you want to do is control environments, have a stable audit, have everything stable around you, right? I think when you come to these individuals or leaders who want to explore, I think balance is key for me. Like what I learned the hard way is I like to explore and I like to give the team the freedom to try things, but not at the cost of doing what needs to be done, especially around, like, let's say month end, right? So if it's a critical period in my life, this is not the right time for you to think about how many wonderful, stars I can pluck from the sky. That's just crunch time, get it done, sort it out. Now, when you've got some downtime, I'm like, go ahead and explore, right? And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, let's, bring that recursive programming back in and let's try it again and try to amend the formula. And sometimes it's not worth it. And other times it's, hey, this really works and let's go ahead with it. So I think if we don't continue to innovate and try new things, we'll just keep falling behind. And we've seen that with AI as well.